How are you? Happy Tuesday. I'm a hot mess this week. Sorry. I'm just getting my life. My life is in shambles. My life is in shambles. Excuse me. So, it's part of living in your car. It's just part of it. It's just part of it. Um, so today, okay, I know we're getting close to Passover because I can mark it on my calendar. I can just mark it on my calendar. Anytime we get near Passover, I'm going to go into the heat of the trial. And not to say I haven't been in a trial for the last 6 months or however long I've been in my car, because it's been trialy, let me tell you. But when the trial starts really heating up and really the fire's like cranked up 7 times hotter, you feel it. And it seems like every year around Passover, I'm going through some type of heated warfare, and I just like I'm having dreams uh lately about spiritual warfare. So like I know when I'm dreaming about killing snakes in my dream, like literally there's a heated battle going on. And I shouldn't have boasted about how this fire wasn't burning me a few weeks ago, because now that fire was like, okay, well, let me turn it up a bit and see how you like it. But I say all that to say I'm joking. I'm not joking, but it is a real thing. And so I wanted to encourage some people today who might be going through their own thing, you know. And there's certain times of the year, usually around feast days, that are extra hot. Like they're extra heated. The battle is hot, and so for me, it's always Passover every year. I just feel it, and I know it's coming soon because, like, literally. Um, but this week, it was the past 2 weeks have been really rough, and in the fact that I know that because of all the extra spiritual tension in the air, I can feel it in the spirit realm, and the battles in the spirit realm that I'm going through, and and the and the natural things, are making it worse, because uh, you know living on nuts and berries for a few days just doesn't do it for you. You need some. You can start craving meat. It's like when the children were in the wilderness and they were like complaining about the manna, and and they wanted some meat, and it was like the Lord was like, okay, I'll make it rain down birds or whatever kind of quail, and it'll come out through your nose because you're complaining. And he was so angry with them for not just being grateful of the manna, but it doesn't matter how, like, we're all human. It is our natural, it's just in our natural human flesh to um, get sick and tired of being sick and tired, and going through the struggle day in and day out. It wears your body down, it wears your mind down, it wears your soul down. And so to stay positive and stay grateful in the really hard days is absolutely vital to, number one, not displease the Lord, and number two, to make it through, to endure it with joy. And the least it actually, a lot of people, don't understand that when you maintain positivity through the actual battle, and the hard times, it just makes the hard times so much easier to deal with. And it's easier for you. It's easier for, like, it just makes things it's easy. When you start complaining, complaints don't make things better, but they also anger the Lord. So now you're not only suffering, but you're complaining, which is negative, and now you've just angered the Lord on top of it. So you don't want to do that. And but I'm telling you, like, after months and months and months of living on like beefaroni and canned grape leaves and just bare minimum, like I went 3 years with not eating fast food, or yeah, since 2020, not eating fast food, to this past 6 months, all I've eaten is fast food. And it's like, I feel like I'm eating poison all the time, but literally that's what I'm doing to survive. And so it's called survival. It's like, that's just what you have to do. You have to eat what you got to eat. You got to stay alive, so I say all that to say, like, it's okay to, like, we're going to have the hard times, we're going to have the fire, we're going to have the battles, and there's certain points of those battles where your human flesh just is going to come out at some point, and that's normal too. It's just how do we stay focused and stay positive in those trying situations? Because like I will say, like, for the past 2 weeks it's been super 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 hard, but I realized in the hardness of the trial, it was causing me so much more to cry out to the Lord, so much more to lean on Him, so much more to surrender my flesh to Him. And so what the trial does, the heat of the trial, is going to expose your weak parts. It's going to expose your flesh parts. It's going to expose those things that, oh, you thought this was okay, this is not okay. And so that's the point of the heat of the trial, is to, like, bring forth the things that don't belong. That's why we need the trial. We need the trial to show us, like, hey, this is weak in you. You need to beef up, like, your Bible reading. You need to beef up your prayers, your fasting. You haven't fasted in a while. Like, try not eating for a few days. So the trial is there to show you where you're weak, and to help strengthen you. And so an encouraging thing, I woke up today and I just turned on the music, because yesterday was a rough day, and I was just, it was one of those days where I literally couldn't take it anymore, and I was just crying, and I was highly emotional, and I'm not normally like this, so, like, it's just not my normal state of being highly emotional, or like very frustrated and weepy. So I was like, yeah, it's probably like my hormones, but it was still one of those days. It was a very 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 rough day, and I was just crying, and I was like so frustrated within myself. And I noticed that for like maybe 20-30 minutes, I started to get this really defeated attitude. I started to, like, what happens when you get this defeated attitude, a lot of times you can go back in your mind, and I'm a very visual person, and so I have a very vivid imagination, and you can imagine the days of old, like like it's like the children when they thought about Egypt, and like, oh, we had leeks and garlics, and it's like, yeah, but you were a prisoner of Egypt. Like, it wasn't better there, right? But you just remember the good times, because because you weren't in pain, and you know, and so for a brief moment, I'm just like thinking about all this stuff from my past, and I'm like, maybe I should just go home. Like, this is so crazy, And I think it was really my first moment of, like, the whole time I've been here, of, like, just wanting to throw in the towel and like say forget this, and pack it up. And that lasted for about 30 minutes, where I was really intensely debating these things, and then finally I was just like, oh, if I die, I die. Like, we're like, it's so crazy, because, like, in our imagination, we can always perceive that things were better a long time ago, when they really were never better a long time ago. And so, sorry, I have this crazy curly hair. Um, so so my so when I woke up this morning, I was just so I just woke up, and I just felt the love of Jesus, like, all over me. Like, it was like he watched my whole tantrum yesterday, and I apologized to him, and I was just crying, and like, Lord, I'm sorry, one of those meltdowns. And like, I just went to bed feeling kind of like a failure, you know what I mean? Like, this was not a good day. I just totally blew this whole day. And when I woke up this morning, it was just like, I could just feel his love, like, all over me. And he's like, it's okay, I know you're dumb, like, it's okay. And I just woke up, and I spent the morning with him, and it was like, all day I heard the same thing. He learned obedience from the things he suffered. He learned obedience through his suffering. And so I went to that verse in Hebrews, and I just want to read it to you, just for a second, because I want to talk about it. So it's talking about the priesthood, and Jesus being the high priest in the order of Melchizedek, and God calls him his son, and says, I have begotten you. And then it says in verse 7, it says, who in the days of his flesh, when he had offered up prayers and supplications with vehement cries and tears to him who was able to save him from death, and was heard because of his godly fear, though he was a son, yet he learned obedience by the things which he suffered. And having been perfected, he became the author of eternal salvation to all who obey him, called by God as high priest according to the order of Melchizedek, of whom we have much to say and hard to explain, since you have become dull of hearing. And so I want to go back to this because it's talking about Jesus when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, right? And he's crying out, he's sweating blood, and he's like, God, just let this cup pass from me. And it says right here, it's like he's offering up prayers and supplication with vehement cries and tears to him who is able to save him from death. Like he knows that God is able to save him from death. He's like, I know you are able, right? And then it says, and he was heard because of his godly fear. So it's like, and I know you hear me because I fear you, right? And so and it says, and though he was a son, I know you just said I am your begotten son. And it says, and yet he learned obedience by the things he suffered. And God, just because you are his son, his child, his daughter, and you know that he hears your prayers, like you know that he talks to you, you know that he comes and visits you in dreams, you know that you have a relationship with him, that he's not going to prevent the suffering sometimes. Why? Because it says even Jesus learned obedience through the things he suffered, and it made him perfect. The cross is what perfected that obedience. Having been perfected, he became the author of eternal salvation to all those who obey him. So we too, if we're going to follow Jesus, we have to learn obedience by the things through which we suffer. And what does that mean? That means when you're in a trial, I'll give you some examples. There's many I could give you. That means like literally God is your source, right? And so like one of the things when you're in a trial, you have to go to the Lord and ask him to supply all your needs. You have to go to him. And so when the needs aren't being supplied, you can't just jump on social media and start asking for money. You can't just call up a friend and say, hey, I need some money. And this has happened to me many times in the past where I have broke and there's desperate times of need, right? I've broken down and been like, you know what? I can't do this today. I need some money. I got to call somebody. It hasn't happened a lot, but it's happened. And I mean, I have never felt the hot displeasure of the Lord more than in those moments, right? To where now it's like, no, like when I'm in need, I have to just go to the Lord and ask him, and I have to endure it. And it's like, I know you hear me. I know you feed the birds. I know that you know the amount of hairs on my head, but I have to submit that you are going to provide for me. And like, that means you can't handle it on your own, right? You can't take things into your own hands to fix them. You really have to submit those things to him. That's one example. You know, not turning back when you want to go back, when it's like, take this cup from me, just let me go back and live a normal life. Why can't I have a normal life? Why does everybody else have a normal life? Why can't I just be normal like everyone else? And it's like everything in you wants to like just go do the American dream thing, right? And it's like, but everyone else gets to do that. Why can't I do that? You know? And the Lord keeps saying, take up your cross and follow me. You don't get that option. It's like, oh no, I got to do this thing over here. And it's crazy. But it's like you can't look back to the things, or to, not even look back, but ponder on things that the shoulda, woulda, couldas. What does everyone else have? Why do they get this and I don't? Those things will really, 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 really hurt you. If you do that, it hurts you because you shouldn't look to the right or to the left, but only to the Lord. And like his life is the perfect pattern for your life. And so whatever Jesus did, whatever he endured, whatever his methodology was, whatever it was, that's the pattern, right? And so we're going for the upward call of Christ. We're not just trying to be like the world or the things of the world, even if they're good things, even if they're God things. They're not God things for you. And so when you know that you have a certain path you have to follow, one of the hardest things in the world that hurts you is when you look at other people and what they have going on, and then that creates it just it's like an unnecessary battle that you should never even have to fight, because if you were focused on Jesus, you wouldn't even look to the right hand or the left, right? And so that's one thing that can really, really, really trip you up. And so anytime there's thoughts coming to my mind, like yesterday, I have to quickly get those thoughts out of my mind. I have to quickly come back to the Lord and remember the game plan, and remember the mission, and remember, like, this, that's fine for them. That's not your path. And I have to, like, really talk myself right out of that, because it's like, remember Lot's wife, right? It's like the short, yeah, remember Lot's wife. It's the second shortest verse in the Bible. Jesus wept is the first shortest verse in the Bible. But remember Lot's wife. She looked back onto what God had delivered her from with sorrow and regret, because she didn't want to leave that place. She didn't want to leave a disgusting, filthy place. And she turned into a pillar of sorrow, a pillar of salt. And the salt represents our tears. And so she was completely frozen in time, because she wanted to go back to something God was absolutely trying to deliver her from. And so you have to really keep moving forward in your thoughts. And so another thing about the trial too is when it heats up, when it really gets cooking, right? That tells me one thing: something really good is about to happen, because it doesn't get hot unless something is about to break. We're almost done. This is the end of the process. Like, literally, when it starts cranking up, that tells me on the other side of this, whatever this is, there's something good. And so, or at least no more pain. Like, we're out of the fire, right? It may not be a giant blessing or whatever. It's just, okay, we got to get through this fire. And then what I noticed in the fire is that it's almost like your contact and your communion with the Lord is so close during the fire. You almost, like, after the fire, you almost want to be back in the fire, because of the closeness that you had with the Lord in the fire. That's why I always say now, like, I will never pass by a good fire, because I'm like, throw me in, put me in, coach, like, I'll go to the fire, because even though it sucks in the moment, it doesn't feel good in the moment. I know that there's something amazing that's happening between me and the Lord in that fire. And, like, so there's just this, it's like the veil between heaven and earth is super thin, and like, it's just a very special time between you and the Lord. It's like this union. And so that's why I'm saying, like, don't rush, don't, because sometimes we like to help ourselves out of the fire and avoid the fire, and it gets hot, and then we jump out of the fire, and it's like, no, just stay in there and let it burn you. And then I'm telling you, that's where the magic happens. And I hate to use the word magic, but you know what I mean. That's where the miracle happens. And so pulling yourself out of the fire, or doing something to get yourself out of the situation, even if that's just distractions, even if that's just like you can, distractions are a big one, because you can look at your phone, you can do anything other than going to his presence to distract yourself from the pain of what's happening. And so what I'm saying is, like, instead of doing those things, if you embrace that fire, I'm telling you, it's like, that's where the most amazing things happen. And so anyway, I thought about that, learning, even Jesus learned obedience through the things he suffered. And so if he is our guide, he is the one we're following after him. First John says we need to walk even as he walked. Then we should walk in, and just like that moment in Gethsemane, it's like, Lord, not my will, but yours be done. So please take this cup from me. Please let this pain pass from me, please. But even so, Lord, not my will, but yours be done. Like, even if you don't do it, it's okay, because I know you're in this thing with me. I know that this is for a greater glory. That's the perspective that you have to have. And think about, the Garden of Gethsemane was probably the most intense moment of Jesus's life. And to sweat drops of blood, like, you have to be under a huge amount of duress to be able to sweat blood. And so he knew the pain that was coming. He knew what was about to happen to him. He knew the separation from God. He knew all of these things. And yet, in his humanity, he said, please take this cup from me. Like, that's humanness, right? He's showing us, like there is a human part of us that does not want to endure this thing. But nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done. We have to align our will with God's will. And so, and no matter what that looks like. And so that's, and then what happened? He became the author. The author, it says, having been perfected, he became the author of eternal salvation to all who obey him. So he could have never been our salvation. He could have never brought life to the world had he not died to self. And so that's the whole message of the cross. And so anyway, if you're going through a hard time, just know it's Passover, and just know, yes, he still hears your prayers. You are a son or a daughter of God. And yet we still need to learn obedience, because he, even our teacher, learned obedience through the things that he suffered. So I love you guys. Happy Tuesday. Yeah, have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.